There are so many skincare rules these days, it's almost exhausting to hear about all the rules in skincare, because it used to be there were no rules whatsoever, and now I feel like we've just gotten ourselves into this place where we just talk about skincare rules. But guess what, guys? There are times to break these rules. Just like anything else in life, skincare can be very personal, and it's also meant to be really fun. So today we're going to talk about skincare rules to break. Rule number one that you should break, and that is to avoid physical exfoliators and scrubs. You can actually use physical scrubs. There is not a hard and fast rule that says that you cannot use physical scrubs on your face. I know we talk about this all the time, but that is definitely a rule you can break, and sometimes it's a necessary rule to break. And I'm not talking about pulling out an apricot scrub and just putting it all over your face and tearing at your face and irritating it. That's what you want to avoid. So first, if you are going to use a physical scrub, you just want to make sure it's not overly abrasive. We think about this with like the larger particles, for instance. And what I'm talking about specifically are fruit pits and nutshells, especially when they're ground up and they have sharp, jagged edges. Those jagged edges can really cut your skin. Even if it is just micro tears, it's causing damage to your skin, and the more you use it, the more it's irritating your skin. If you are going to use a scrub, you want to look for a particulate. The particulate, which is the little scrubs, the physical scrubs, you want to make sure that they are either round, that they dissolve like sugar crystals, for instance, or that they're so finely ground that they won't damage your skin and be sharp. Examples of that would be like jojoba beads, for instance, or even some type of a crystal powder. Of course, you want to keep in mind your skin type as well. If you have sensitive skin or you have rosacea, obviously a physical scrub might be too strong for you. But if you have oily or acne prone skin, as long as you don't have active acne, then you can definitely use a physical scrub more often than somebody that has sensitive skin. If you have combination or normal skin, you might get away with using a scrub 2 or 3 times a week. I'll pull out a physical scrub once or twice a month, and it's great for my skin. It feels like it just gives me that extra boost of exfoliation that I need. You can even speak to dermatologists and estheticians. One, for instance, is Renee Rouleau. I love her advice. I love what she does for the skin of her clients, and she highly recommends using a physical exfoliant, because the way she thinks of it is you can use all of the chemical exfoliants, which she also recommends, and then eventually you want to be able to get rid of, like whisk away the dead skin cells that are sitting on your skin. And even when it comes to dark spots, she really strongly believes that you need to whisk all of it away. So she really believes you should use a physical exfoliant, specifically a scrub, regularly. Rule number 2 that you should break is not to exfoliate every single day. So there are general rules like not exfoliating every single day that are used to basically help people not overdo it. That's kind of the key when it comes to your skincare, is you don't want to overdo anything, because that can lead to sensitivity and irritation, and then that's much harder to backtrack on and try to heal your skin and then get back on track with your skincare routine. So to avoid that, manufacturers, brand owners, dermatologists, estheticians, we all say the same types of rules, and that's because it's easier to generalize with rules like don't exfoliate every single day. And the reason why we say that is because we know if we tell people that they can really use a product every single day, they might go too far. And that's because skincare, again, is very personal. If you haven't used an exfoliant before, or you don't know how your skin reacts to exfoliation, then you should definitely ease into it. This goes for any ingredient that you're adding into your skincare routine. Even the seemingly simple ingredients like the hydrating ingredients, if you haven't used them before, you want to ease into it because you don't know how your skin will react. This goes especially for exfoliation though. If you over exfoliate, it can irritate your skin. So what you're really trying to get to is that perfect amount of exfoliation where your skin looks new and fresh and smooth, but it's not irritated, because if you go too far, that's when you get to the issues. The same goes with layering different exfoliants. It's much easier to tell you not to layer your different exfoliating ingredients, like for instance, to not use your AHAs and then your retinoids, for instance, or to not layer your BHAs and your AHAs. But the truth is, you can actually layer these types of ingredients, especially if your skin is used to it and you know that your skin can tolerate it, but it's all about your skin type and what your skin can tolerate. I, for instance, always layer different active ingredients. You'll see me use my BHAs or my AHAs sometimes in the same routine, and then wear vitamin C, or even put on, other AHAs. So I might use some glycolic acid, and then after that use my PHAs and maybe, layer something else like azelaic acid. So it really, again, depends on your skin and what it can tolerate and what you've kind of built yourself up to. And if you think about it, a lot of products are actually formulated to combine these active ingredients because they work better together. So again, it just comes down to what can you tolerate. You don't want to overdo it, so you want to ease into it and figure out what your skin can take and build up over time, because as you start to incorporate these ingredients more and more in your skincare routine, you're going to see better results. Rule number 3 to break, that's to always use a moisturizer. I know this one's gonna feel like it's very controversial. When you're told to always use a moisturizer, what you're really being told is to use something that is occlusive enough to lock in all of your hydration so you don't get transepidermal water loss. The thing is, again, skincare is personal. People that have oily skin don't necessarily need as much of an occlusive ingredient or a moisturizer or as thick of a moisturizer as somebody who has dry skin. So what you're really looking for is occlusive ingredients. But that can be really confusing, especially for people that are newer to skincare. You're really just looking for a product that has occlusive enough ingredients in it. So technically, for instance, sunscreen is a moisturizer. If you have normal to oily skin, that can act as your moisturizer. There's even serums, for instance, that have, like dimethicone in them that can be occlusive enough for somebody who has really oily skin. So what we're really saying when we say to use a moisturizer is not that you have to use a literal moisturizer, it's just easier to find something that says lotion, moisturizer, or cream, but there can also be other types of products out there like serums or sunscreen that have an occlusive enough ingredient in them, or more than one occlusive enough ingredient for your skin type. So I guess what I'm saying is don't get hung up on the name of your product. Just because it's not called a lotion or a moisturizer or a cream doesn't mean that it doesn't act as one. Rule number 4 to break, only use non-comedogenic ingredients. This is one that I see come up often, and it feels like we put this kind of topic to bed and then it comes back in full force. The term non-comedogenic is not regulated, so technically any ingredient can be called non-comedogenic, but that doesn't mean that it won't clog your pores or cause you to break out. The thing to keep in mind is an occlusive ingredient can be called non-comedogenic, like petrolatum, for instance. That's like probably the most occlusive that you're gonna get. It's technically non-comedogenic, but if you put it on your skin, it locks everything else underneath it. And when it's doing that, it's trapping everything. So if you are sweaty, if you have bacteria, if you have other ingredients from your other products that are comedogenic, all of that can actually clog your pores and lead to breakouts too. And then there's also the bigger glaring issue here, and that is using too many products, whether all of the ingredients are non-comedogenic. Using too many products can just be too much for your skin. Again, this is very personal. I can't tell you what too much is for you because it's all based on your skin type and what your skin can tolerate. Some people can, put on tons of different layers of products and then put on the most occlusive moisturizer on top and their skin is glowing and beautiful and smooth and just fine. But then there are other people who use one serum and their skin starts to break out. So it's all very dependent on you. You need to let your skin function the way it functions. And part of that process is TOOL, transepidermal water loss. You need a little bit of it. It's all about just finding that moderation that works for you. Skincare rule number 5 to break is that oily or acne-prone skin should always use oil-free products. Here's the thing about oil-free. It's not a regulated term, so it's basically a term that anybody can throw onto their packaging. But what it's usually referring to, before we start to get all upset, like, oh gosh, they're just trying to trick us, what it's usually referring to, or it's signaling to people, is that this is a great product for somebody who does have oily or acne-prone skin, and that's because it's going to use lighter ingredients. That said, oil isn't in the name of every ingredient out there, and so when they're saying that it's oil-free, it doesn't mean that it's not going to have the oil-like emollients, like esters, for instance, that can also be pore clogging. It's just going to feel lighter on your skin. There are also ingredients like lanolin that don't have the word oil in the name, but it's essentially acting the same way. Everybody needs some sort of an occlusive ingredient to help moisturize and lock in any of the hydration on their skin. It just, again, comes down to your skin type. How much of that do you need? Some people need more and some people need less. Sometimes, actually, when your skin is oily, it turns out you really need that moisture and those oils and those lipids that are just gonna help replenish your skin, because your skin might actually just be overcompensating and causing it to be oily. So what it really comes down to is not avoiding the oils per se, say, but finding the products that have the right oils for you. I've mentioned in other videos before that oils that are high in linoleic acid are actually great for people that are acne prone or have oily skin, because it helps to actually replenish that linoleic acid in your skin and sometimes just balance everything out. And then the last rule to break is that oil cleanser cannot be your only cleanser. I'm starting to see this more because I think people are buying more oil-based cleansers to use as their first cleanse, and I'm starting to see people ask, well, do I actually have to go in with a water-based cleanser after that? The answer is no, you can use an oil cleanser as your only cleanser. It just, again, just like all of these other rules, it all depends on your skin type or what you're using it for. It also, in this case, is very specific to the product. If you feel like the oil cleanser is actually rinsing off of your skin and it's taking everything off, then of course you can use it as your only cleanse, because then your skin is clean. And that's really the whole goal, is to get clean skin that isn't stripped. So if you feel like you've got very dry or irritated skin, you might also like using only an oil cleanser because it helps to replenish your skin, and your skin probably needs it. The reason why I like to use two different types of cleansers in my double cleanse is because I find that it's more effective at cleansing my skin without stripping it. So I like to go in with an oil-based cleanser to help break everything down, but I don't feel like it really gets everything off of my skin. Instead, I like to just focus on the oil cleanser, just really loosening everything up. That's how I think of it. And then I go in with a water-based cleanser. Usually that's something that's more of like a gel or a cream cleanser, and that goes in and it also has a reaction with the oil-based cleanser that makes it all come off even easier. So it's really just a great process to make sure that you get all of your makeup and grime and sunscreen off. So those are all the skincare rules to break. So let's remember something, you guys. If you talk to a dermatologist or an esthetician, they all have different rules. They all have their ideas of things that they've seen work with their clients and their patients. Some of these rules have come from personal experience. Some of these rules are from some of the training that they've had, and not all of that training is up to date, or maybe it's just a different philosophy. There are so many different philosophies when it comes to skincare. Skincare is very personal. You want to keep in mind that you just don't want to overdo it with anything. You don't want to irritate your skin or take it too far unless it's actually in a controlled environment with a dermatologist, for instance. And that can be like with a laser treatment or a microneedling treatment. Those are controlled irritations. But really, what it comes down to for everybody is you want to pay attention to your skin. Get to know your skin. Sometimes that's a little bit of trial and error. Knowing your skin type and knowing what makes your skin react and when you're pushing it too far is the most important thing that you can do. Some people have really tolerant skins, some people don't. And sometimes your skin is just all over the place, and it can be a change in just the seasons or in your hormones. You don't really know what's going to cause all of these changes, but our skin is constantly changing. So paying attention to your skin and knowing it is really the best thing that you can do. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Let me know if you're breaking any of the skincare rules. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.